the center of this restaurant, there are 2 stars, number 9 and number 5, which is not too good. I recommended them to have a brass plate at the center of the restaurant.
Just after she installed all the stuff this woman said to do, which was crystals and mirrors and all that, they started fighting, they divorced. The woman was in a lot of serious car crashes.
Now here's something you might not know. Oprah's broadcast house, Harpo Studios, was once a funeral parlor.
Hello, I'm Karen Clare, and this is a very special Celebrity Gossip edition of Feng Shui Live. Throughout our travels, we've met many masters and Feng Shui experts who slipped us little tidbits of information about many of their high-profile clients. So make sure you stay with us for Phil's Celebrity Gossip segment. But first, Vancouver is known for its large Asian population, and where you find the people, you find the tradition.
You see, 3 years ago, I opened a shop in Richmond Public Market, selling brass products and also offering Feng Shui consultations. I mean, one day, Mrs. Ng, the owner of the restaurant, came to my shop and saw me, and then she invited me to Feng Shui audit her restaurant.
Business in Vancouver has been very competitive, and a lot of restaurants, same type Chinese restaurant, has been surrounding us, and I think it's very important to have Feng Shui introduced to this restaurant.
The reason they need Feng Shui is because they are facing a rather keen competition in the downtown area. Yeah, like Korean food, which is just opposite their restaurant, and also the Japanese cuisine, which is just behind the restaurant. So they are surrounded by different types of restaurants. Yeah. So they have to improve their luck by means of Feng Shui. There are certain challenges. The first challenge is being to take measurements because, I mean, as I said, there are a lot of magnetic interference from outside and even inside. This is the place where I took measurements. I mean, I take a number of readings by looking at the compass, and then I found out that actually it's a 21 degree to the north. And of course, once I know one of the bearings, I can know the other 3 in the same coordinate. It's important to take measurements at this spot because you can see there's a less interference. I mean, it's an open area, less interference from the overhead wires, and also less interference from the steel structures in the building. And hopefully the radiations from the earth is less interference. The Flying Star School is actually a measurement of time and space because the stars are actually flying, so floating from one period to another. Today's stars is good, may not be good for tomorrow. Flying stars actually is changing all the time. It changes by seconds, by minutes, by quarters, by hour, by day, by month, by year, by every 20-year cycle. And then we have formulas to calculate that. But normally we are down to the quarters. We don't calculate by minute. Even down to quarters, it's just for fun because a quarter is only lasts for 15 minutes, and then you don't want to calculate, I mean, use a lot of energy to calculate something that lasts for 15 minutes, and then it disappears.
The King Fortune Seafood Restaurant has been open more than 3 years, and the big part of the clientele are the businessmen from the close-by office. We mainly serve Cantonese food from the southern part of China. And our famous dishes is live lobster, and crabs, and also Peking duck.
Here's the entrance of the restaurant, which is situated at the southeast corner. And then I recommended them to put an aquarium because it is one of the good spots to put an aquarium. The purpose is to increase the wealth. This is the center of the dining room, or the main dining room. And then by calculations, the counter is actually at the south side of the dining room. The stars there is 5 and 1. 5 signifies yellow 5, which is not too good to health or even to wealth. So the staffs working over there, they have a higher occurrence of taking sick leave, and this was confirmed to be by Mrs. Ng. And so I asked them to install some of the brass panel, which they did, and they even bought one tortoise, dragon head, tortoise, which is to ask for the help of the Lord of Mentor. Some masters translate this as a nobleman. In the center of this restaurant, by calculations, there are 2 stars, number 9 and number 5, which is not too good. I recommended them to have a brass plate at the center of the restaurant, but it was a very big job because you have to dig a hole to say 4 by 4, and then at least half an inch so that you hold the brass plate before you put back the carpet. And then for your viewers' information, I learned from a Feng Shui friend that one of the British stock company in Hong Kong, they have a brass plate inside their main dealing room, and they make $100 million of profits each year and year after year. So you can see the effect there. On the day I Feng Shui audited this restaurant, I found they have a 9 dragons panel installed at the northwest corner of this restaurant. The dragon is very good because, I mean, by Feng Shui representation, Qin is actually the dragon, the dragon's eye. So I asked them to keep there, and because it's an auspicious or a good omen sign to them. The kitchen leading to the restaurant is dominated by 2 stars, which are not too good to the kitchen staff because they are vulnerable to fingers, a cut, or scratches. And then I suggested them to put a red carpet at the entrance of the door, kitchen door leading to the dining room. The red carpet is a fire star. Actually, it's fire. Fire is a good go-between between star number 8 and star number 4. So the red carpet has to be there. Inside the kitchens, I look at I found the stove situated on the east side, which are dominated by 2 stars, 2 and 7, which are which affect the tempers of the kitchen staff. So I suggested them to put some, jade on top of the exhaust fan. Just above the stove, and also I found that there is another stove at the south side of the kitchen, and I suggested to them to put 9 pieces of the brass horn to neutralize the bad stars there. And I was confirmed by Mrs. Ng, the owner of the restaurants, that the kitchen staff there previously was very temperamental. So it helps, and I think things have improved, after the neutralization of the bad stars. After the audit, Mrs. Singh is very happy, and actually she has given me quite a number of jobs, not to this restaurant, but her offices, warehouses. They have quite a sizable business.
After Feng Shui has been implemented by Master Ao, and the business has been increased, and then the owner of the restaurant, Mr. Singh, has been very happy since then. In my opinion, Feng Shui does work. We do believe it.
All right, let's get right to the FSL question. The form of Feng Shui that most people know of is a combination of which 2 cultures? Native Indian and British, Chinese and Japanese, Asian and Indian, or Indian and European? That one will make you think, and you'll also have to stay with us for the answer.
There's so little understanding of the Asian community in the United States that unless you grew up experiencing Asian life in some respect, you had no clue. And so if they sold it to you and said it was Asian, you would buy it.
If Feng Shui were to have any law and order, it'd be led by our next guest. Backed by popular demand is a very outspoken Cate Bramble.
Do I think all books are crap? I would say I agree with Master Sang that at least 90% of them are. People have tried to substitute a good education for a lot of bullshit. Can I use that word?
Just did.
Okay. There's so little understanding of the Asian community in the United States that unless you grew up experiencing Asian life in some respect, you had no clue. And so if they sold it to you and said it was Asian, you would buy it. A friend of mine who's also one of my former instructors explained to me that because everything's kind of all connected, you're screwing with people's lives. I've heard from Master Sang in my classes, I've seen for myself that if they get it wrong, their lives go downhill. I read a newspaper article as part of my presentation where I said this woman had paid an expert in London to come in and look at her 300,000-pound flat and her successful husband, and they'd been married 20 years. Just after she installed all the stuff this woman said to do, which was crystals and mirrors and all that, they started fighting, they divorced. The woman was in a lot of serious car crashes, just all sorts of horrible things. The husband lost his job. And the family blames it all on this practitioner or pseudo-practitioner. I've had to go up and mop up after people who have just made an abysmal mess of people's houses. So I think if you're messing with people's lives, you should be very, very careful. I think you have to ask them a lot of questions. One of the questions I would ask is, who have you studied with? If they don't answer or if they're vague, drop them like a hot potato. If they haven't got, I would say, at least 200 hours worth of education with people who you've heard of in some respect, I would also drop that. I would also make sure that they were of the world-class variety so that you've studied with someone who is accepted as a world-class practitioner. I would also say that they should have had at least 100 readings before they even decided they were going to hang up their shingle. If they can provide references, that's great. You want to talk to people. You also want to be aware of people who've only had good readings. It can't all be sweet and light. You've got to have some where they said, you know, I could have done a better job there. Things do go wrong. People do get it wrong. It's not all perfect.
Cate has appeared numerous times on Feng Shui Life, and if you'd like to be privy to one of her many rants, drop by our website at fengshuilife.tv. Okay, now let's get back to the FSL question. The form of Feng Shui most people have come to know is a combination of what two cultures? Native Indian and British, Chinese and Japanese, Asian and Indian, or Indian and European? Stay with us. Phil's going to have the answer at the end of the show.
Feng Shui is no longer an ancient Chinese secret. It's even broken through to, yes, Hollywood. So now would be a good time for Feng Shui Celebrity Gossip.
It's hugely popular. It's really taken off in the last couple of years. Prior to that, I mean, nobody wanted to know. They just kind of had all sorts of nicknames for it, chop suey being the predominant one. But now it's sort of it's almost mainstream. I mean, it's in, you know, you hear about it talked about in all the magazines, soap operas, it's mentioned. And everywhere I go, if you talk to people about it, even, you know, 3 years ago, people go, Feng Shui, what's that? Now it's like, oh yeah, that's the thing, you've got to keep the loo closed down. And it's amazing to see even little, you know, little children, you know, when I say, I mean, like teenagers are really curious about it. You know, and men, I think men have had some sort of exposure to it from the East, but the fact that it's now sort of being taken so seriously by business over here, and people have seen the effect, you know, of it on spaces where people definitely feel less stressed out and less burnt out. It's just absolutely huge. It's quite phenomenal. And I think it's just growing. I think it's going to become part of the fabric of the way that when people think about designing buildings, you know, I think eventually there'll be a point where they'll just say, well, we're designing a building, what's the feng shui of it? How is it going to impact on neighbouring buildings and stuff like that? And I really see that day coming.
Feng Shui got very popular in Germany in maybe 3 years ago. Then suddenly it became fancy to Feng Shui their home to the people. The problem with this is that it's that there are very few well-trained people. Most of the people consulting in Germany are not very good trained and not doing a real professional work.
Feng Shui is quite popular in South Africa. It's certainly grown in demand and popularity over the last probably 4 or 5 years. More so since Master Yap has been to South Africa. Prior to that, it was very much your dinner table conversation, fad item. So yeah, I think over the next few years we'll see a burgeoning interest in Feng Shui as well.
Feng Shui is getting more and more popular in Canada. In the last few years, the awareness have been there, but there's been a lot of confusion in Canada. In the last year or so, I've noticed there's been a definite shift, especially with the popularity of classical Feng Shui. It's filtering into the Canadian into Canada, and so therefore more and more people are starting to realize that the classical Feng Shui is the difference between classical Feng Shui and westernized Feng Shui.
For me, as a pioneer of authentic Feng Shui, I feel it's part of my responsibility, and as part of the YCH, as rep for the YCH in Ireland, I feel it's a big part of my responsibility to try and spread the word on authentic Feng Shui over there.
Feng Shui became popular in the UK probably before it really took off in the States. I suppose the early 80s. Even before that, in 79, 80, I was lecturing on Feng Shui in Austria, which is where it really became most popular soonest. And in the States, there's a sort of variety of Feng Shui, Black Hat Feng Shui, which spread early on, and it's only now that people who are interested in that are learning the traditional Chinese kosher Feng Shui.
Feng Shui is no longer an ancient Chinese secret. It's even broken through to, yes, Hollywood. So now would be a good time for Feng Shui Celebrity Gossip. Hollywood tough guy Sylvester Stallone and his model wife claim to have used Feng Shui to help them conceive their child. I don't know, I've seen her, and I don't think Feng Shui is the only thing that helped. Shirley MacLaine won't even enter her trailer when on set unless it had a space clearing and is oriented to her best directions. Now, by space clearing, we don't mean a parking spot for her spaceship. Oprah Winfrey is no longer a stranger to Feng Shui. Not only has she consulted with FSL regular Angie Ma Wong, she's also had her on her show. Now, here's something you might not know. Oprah's broadcast house, Harpo Studios, was once a funeral parlor. I see Feng Shui people. Actor Johnny Depp was also so sold on Feng Shui that he had his kids' room done. How do you Feng Shui a PlayStation 2? And that's just scratching the surface. Now, if you want to find out the sources of our gossip, you might want to log on to our website at www.fengshuilife.tv. Now, let's recap the FSL question. The form of Feng Shui, as people have come to know it today, is a blend of what two cultures? Native Indian and British, Chinese and Japanese, Asian and Indian, or Indian and European? Well, Feng Shui is 100% Chinese, but people have come to know it as a blend of Asian and Indian cultures. Please join us next time.
Please refer to your manuals.